It's time to turn the page on disappointment and begin a new chapter of Penguins hockey. Alex Nedeljkovic was one of the heroes that emerged last night in the win over the Kings. Matt Grzelcyk was among those heroes, stepping up big time in the absence of Marcus Pettersson. We're going to cover all of that and more on today's episode of Penguins Digest. Please, for those of you that haven't already, and 99.9% of you have not, subscribe to the channel. Press that sub button, and we will cover all of the latest Pittsburgh Penguins news, rumors, analysis, updates, just everything you need to know about the Pittsburgh Penguins. So subscribe to the channel, and we got you here on Penguins Digest. Let's begin with Pittsburgh is back in the hunt. Something had to give in last night's game. Penguins were 8-7-2 at home. The Kings were 8-7-2 on the road, and the Penguins prevailed in that grudge match between the two Titans. It was a great game. It came down to the wire. Let's look at the standings in the Eastern Conference right now. The Penguins were actually in that second wild card spot last night after the game against the Kings, but then Ottawa won and bounced them out. Regardless, we have to be happy about where the Penguins are right now, tied with the best record in the Eastern Conference in the last 10 games with a few other teams. They've played their best hockey in the last 10 games. They are certainly not out of the race. The Penguins were unfazed of playing against one of the best defensive teams in the National Hockey League, leading the league in goals against per game. The Kings are the best at holding their opponents to little to no offense, and the Penguins found just the right amount of goals, 3. The LA Kings have now only lost 3 of their last 11 games, and those were the only 3 occurrences in those 11 games that they allowed 3 or more goals. The New Jersey Devils, who you see on that standings chart, are one of the teams to be able to put up 3 on Los Angeles, a team that prides themselves on not giving their opponents anything. A game that they did not lead for a single minute. They were behind or tied in that contest until overtime when they cashed in with the game winner. It was a game where they were constantly playing from behind, constantly trying to battle back in, and they still came out victorious. Alex Nedeljkovic deserving much more credit than he has been getting. He has been terrific for the Penguins this season when he is needed to play. Now, obviously, the stats are not going to show you anything crazy on Alex Nedeljkovic this season, but he has played well enough, especially being the fact that he is the backup goalie and he is not playing every day. He had not started a game since December 6th. December 6th was Alex Nedeljkovic's last start before last night, and he comes in and plays his best game of the season. But before we even get into what Ned has done this season, we have to talk about what he did last season, because that's the reason he is even on the team this season. Look at what Ned did down the stretch in 2023, trying to will this team to the playoffs, starting 13 of their last 14 games in place of Tristan Jarry, who was struggling. And look at the numbers that Ned was able to put up in those games last season. You have to look at what he did last season to understand this season, because he was rewarded for the way he played last season with a 2-year, $5 million contract to come back to Pittsburgh and be Tristan Jarry's backup goalie. He was the starter down the stretch last year, and we didn't know who was going to be the starter when this season started because of how well Ned played last season. So you got to take into consideration what Ned has done and what he did on very short notice last night, coming in to play for Tristan Jarry in a game that Jarry was expected to start until the day of the game when they announced Nedeljkovic would be the starter. So you got to give this guy credit, because he stepped in and played lights out for the Penguins when they needed it. And if you look at the box score of the game, that is proof that Ned had his best game of the season. He had a lot of great scoring chances against him, 31 shots attempted on goal, and Ned made 29 saves, only allowed 2 goals, and both of those goals were very difficult pucks to stop. He was put in some very impossible situations by his defense, and he bailed them out, just like Tristan Jarry has had to do in recent games for the Penguins. The defense hasn't been good enough. They played a little bit better yesterday, but still not good enough. Karlsson deserves a little bit of credit because he made a really good play in that third period. He had a 2.5-minute shift and then made an excellent defensive play, saving a goal, breaking up a pass in the crease, and then obviously the one goal that the Kings scored, Turcotte broke away from the defense. It was a 1-1 tie, and he got this fast break opportunity, this A-plus quality scoring chance, and he blazed by Pittsburgh's defense like they were traffic cones. I mean, these kind of opportunities are something the Penguins have struggled to prevent all season. But before that second goal was scored, Ned made an incredible save to keep the Penguins in the game, and he continued to make really good saves. He had a sequence of some really good saves at one point last night where I was like, yeah, this guy is playing out of his mind, and that is exactly what they needed in order to win that game, was Ned to step up, be a hero, and that's what he was. I don't understand how he wasn't the first star of the game last night. Rickard Rakell obviously played amazing, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but Ned really did deserve to be the number 1 star, at the very least the number 2 star. That's neither here nor there, but let's get into the next chapter, and that is Evgeni Malkin finally looked a little bit like Gino. He looked more like himself last night than he has for quite some time. Obviously, I called him out in the video yesterday talking about we need more from Gino, and he brought it. He was dancing around, making guys miss, going through the defense, making these crazy plays that only Gino makes. At one point, he caught the puck in the neutral zone, dropped it down, and then weaved through 3 guys and created a scoring chance for the Penguins. That is vintage Gino. That's the guy we need if we're going to compete for a playoff spot. So let's just break down what Gino has done in his last 15 games. It's important to look at these numbers because, honestly, in 17 games, he only scored 2 goals. And that's not going to cut it, Gino. He had multiple quality chances against Ottawa, didn't capitalize on them, but last night put himself in perfect position, and it wasn't pretty, but he got on the scoreboard, and that's the important part. It looks the same on the scoreboard, regardless of if you're getting those style points. Just put the puck in the net, and Gino got in a spot where he could put the puck in the net and did it. So he gets his second goal in 17 games. It came just in time for Evgeni Malkin, a guy that the Penguins desperately need down the stretch if they're going to win these key games against teams like the LA Kings that are definitely going to be in the postseason. Look at the scoring summary here and the stars of the game. As we said, Nedeljkovic did not appear on the stars of the game, which is absolute blasphemy, if you ask me. But Gino showed up on the score sheet late in the second period. Great shift. Offensive instinct showed up. He had this nice snapshot on goal. Quick catch and shoot chance there. And then he gloved the puck down like I talked about a little bit ago in the neutral zone and just made magic happen. Shaking and baking his way through multiple defenders, dancing around like vintage Gino. He kept his magic rolling, his feet moving, and actually drew a penalty driving to the net late in the game, giving the Penguins a key chance on the power play. Obviously, that didn't work out for them, but that is just one thing Gino has brought to the table this season and very consistently in the last few games, the ability to draw penalties and put the Penguins on the power play, giving them a chance to have that man advantage opportunity and get hot offensively. Power play has not been great. I'm not going to say it is. It was a lot better the first time out yesterday than the second time out. The second time out, oh my, what a disaster. And then obviously in the third period, they took a penalty to nullify the power play about halfway through. So this kind of thing happens. We understand, but the power play really does need to play better. But we'll save that topic for another day because that's something I could talk about for 10 minutes in itself, is how bad the power play has been for the Pens. Let's move on to our fourth topic of the day, and that is Matt Grzelcyk scoring just in time for the Pens. His first goal of the season. Matt Grzelcyk had 0 goals coming into the game last night, and then bang, Grzelcyk gets his first of the year in iconic fashion. A perfect, beautiful shot from Matt Grzelcyk, set up by Sidney Crosby. Who else but Sid? Should have had 5 or 6 points last night the way Sid played. So he's setting up plays left and right. Guys aren't converting on their scoring chances. That's not Sid's fault. He's setting the plays up. He's doing what needs to be done. It's just not cashing in on the scoreboard. But let's look at what Grzelcyk has done this season for the Pens. Matt Grzelcyk has appeared in 33 games. That was his first goal. He has 16 points, 45 shots on goal, a -10, but an expected plus-minus of -4, 46 block shots, averaging almost 20 minutes of ice time per game. And I think there's a typo on the graphic because 1960 would be 20 minutes. So I'm going to say he's playing 20 minutes a game. Crazy that the graphic says 1960. I'm pretty sure there are 60 seconds in a minute. Correct me if I'm wrong. But The Penguins had an excellent zone entry late in that game after winning an intense battle on the boards in the neutral zone. And then it was just a magnificent setup by Sidney Crosby, playing out of his mind. Like I said earlier, Grizzly, first goal of the season and first goal as a Pittsburgh Penguin to tie the game at 2 apiece. And that was what we needed from Matt Grzelcyk. He was called upon to do the job, and the job got done for Matty G, the Grizzly Bear, making it happen for the Pens and giving them a shot in the arm when they desperately needed it late in that contest. Ultimately ended up getting that extra point. And here is the reason why they got the extra point. Your first star of the game, Rickard Rakell. The ascendance of Rickard Rakell continues for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He has been one of the best players on the team all season, and he was rewarded last night. Perfect place, perfect time, perfect deflection, and a perfect ending to a perfect night in Pittsburgh. A lot of perfects, and I honestly can't think of another adjective or verb to describe what I witnessed last night. Not leading at all the entire game and getting the extra point. That is something that just doesn't happen very often, but the Penguins never gave up. Man, Rickard Rakell, that guy has been terrific. He deserves more credit than he is getting. And I don't know why they're saying he's on the trade block right now. If he's on the trade block right now, that's a serious problem, Kyle Dubas. I don't know why this guy would be on the trade block. Look at what he's done in his last 10 games. 12 points, 7 goals, 5 assists, +2 rating. One of the few Pittsburgh players that actually does have a plus rating on the entire season. He had some unlucky bounces on a number of great scoring chances in the third period of that game. Hit the post even at one point. Darcy Kuemper made some crucial saves to maintain the Kings' lead. All those chances pretty much were generated by the Crosby, Rust, and Rakell line, a line that I highlighted a few videos ago. They're starting to find their rhythm. They're starting to drive this team to the next tier, and they're starting to carry them offensively. They're being that spark that the team desperately needs, trying to match that energy that I talked about. Blake Lizotte, Cody Glass, they bring that energy, and now the Crosby line starting to play with that energy. They were feisty last night. They were getting the job done. People ask what it takes. This is what it takes. You got to be willing to do all the dirty work. You got to be able to get to the spots where you need to be and be able to put the puck in the back of the net. And that's what Rickard Rakell has done. 33 games, 24 points, 79 shots on goal. This guy's not afraid to shoot the puck. He's even got a faceoff percentage over 50%, and he's a winger playing on line with Sidney Crosby, so that says a lot. Shooting percentage 17.7, that's a very efficient clip. You can't say enough about him this season and how he has played. The numbers obviously speak for themselves, but a hero emerged last night when they desperately needed it. Rickard Rakell in overtime, perfect deflection, perfect shot by Erik Karlsson. He deflected it by Darcy Kuemper. They lost in overtime to the Ottawa Senators, and they got a much-needed extra point last night against the Kings, a really good hockey team, a team that they went toe-to-toe against all night. Again, did not lead in that game. They didn't lead in the hockey game. They were down or tied until the very last second when they got that game-winning goal from Rickard Rakell. A huge moment for Rakell, just putting an exclamation point on his fantastic season. And again, Kyle Dubas, he better not be on the trade block. I've seen a lot of dumb rumors lately about players on his team on the trade block that should not be on the trade block whatsoever. I think the Penguins should be going and buying other players that are on the trade block instead of selling players. They're towards the end of the Sidney Crosby, Evgeni Malkin, and Kris Letang era. They're all playing well right now. This is a team that can make a run. They have that playoff experience. They've been there. They've done that. They've won Stanley Cups. Bring in a couple more young pieces. Things are starting to mesh right now, but every time Dubas has made a move, it's worked out. Tomasino worked out. Trading away Lars Eller ended up being the best thing for Blake Lizotte. I mean, there's a lot of things that Dubas has done, these little moves. You don't need to go and make a splash. These little moves end up being enough. What's going to happen with Kevin Hayes? He's not even out there anymore. He's been a healthy scratch because of how well that fourth line has played with Lizotte, Nieto, and Achari. So do you trade Kevin Hayes away? You free up almost $4 million cap hit and then bring in another guy. I don't know. But the next video that I want to do on this channel is going to be about players the Penguins could get that are on the trade block. And let me tell you, they're all defensemen. So I'm not worried about the forward group. You know, Kevin Hayes not playing, Jesse Pujärvi not playing. we have depth at forward. I would rather just trade Kevin Hayes and free up some cap space, if anything. But right now, I like our forward group. I like the way the lines are starting to mesh. The defense is the biggest problem. We haven't had a problem scoring goals, but we had a problem allowing other teams into the danger zone and getting these high value opportunities and putting it by our goaltender, and then blaming our goaltender, which is the dumbest thing I ever heard. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this episode of Penguins Digest. Much needed win last night against the Los Angeles Kings, a very good hockey team that could be a playoff team, probably will be a playoff team, and could compete for the Stanley Cup with their brand of hockey being one that translates well come playoff time. But don't give up on this team. The way they played lately, they have shown that they can stand in there with pretty much anybody. We just need to continue to have confidence, support them, and just hope that they make the right decisions moving forward, staying in this hunt. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Penguins Digest. My name is Remington Kuhn. Again, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for your latest news about your Pittsburgh Penguins. And we'll be back with another episode within the next few days. The Penguins have another big one against the Nashville Predators tomorrow night. So we're going to preview that one for you guys. And hopefully another W for the Black and Gold. Thank you guys for watching and have a good one.